Born here in Nova Scotia, I love this province immensely. I always believed in giving back. As an example, as a volunteer, I ran concerts right over here on the hill, down on the waterfront. Also ran a Santa Claus parade here in Halifax for many years, and also a fundraiser to provide hot breakfast programs for inner city children that were underprivileged. As I said, community and making a difference were always very vital and very important to me. I worked as a police officer for 2 organizations and truly loved my job. On April the 30th, 2009, I was at work. It was a beautiful spring day, sunshine, blue sky, one of those days you're just happy to be alive. Little did I know the journey that was about to begin as that day went on. Late in the afternoon, a forest fire had broken out between Herring Cove Road and Purcell's Cove Road. The fire grew rapidly, faster than anyone ever expected. It was fueled by now downed trees from Hurricane Juan that were very dry, and also high gusts of wind that day. A normal forest fire, if we can ever say a forest fire is normal, travels at about 10 to 11 meters per minute. This was a wildfire and traveled at 33 to 36 meters per minute. Having been in the belly of the beast in the middle of that fire, I can tell you it's not something you soon forget. I had gone around to the far side of the fire, as Tim had mentioned, in case we had to evacuate people from that area. But shortly after I arrived, everything was already on fire. As a police officer, I know very well all about going into situations when everyone else is running out. But a fire this size, I'm no firefighter. But there was nobody else on that side of the fire but me. Someone later said to me they didn't realize that police carried fire gear and fire apparatus with them. We don't. I got 8 people out to safety that day, while 8 homes and several hundred hectares of land burned around us. Everything was already on fire when I got trapped and a wall of flames came through, incinerating everything in its path. A sight, a sound, and a feeling that I will never, ever forget. I was trapped in a cul-de-sac and made the resolution that this was the end. To this day, I relive something that never happened. That day, I saw me and the car burnt up, my colleagues finding me that way, and my family having to have a closed casket funeral. I obviously got out before, but not before sustaining both permanent physical and psychological injuries. After getting out, I then went back in 3 more times. Yes, crazy. With a few other officers who arrived on scene. Soon after, I was rushed to emergency in a police car. And I remember very little of that trip except for going through the intersection of Quimple Road and Connaught and seeing other police cars blocking the intersection for us to go through. And thought to myself, this is bad. So what does all of this have to do with love? Well, I was married at the time, and 3 days later, my ex-wife said, I don't need or want to know what you're dealing with. It's not my problem, and walked away. That's sure not love. Then the organization that I felt was family and would always be there for me and look after me no matter what, well, they turned their back on me and terminated me. Cutting off my pay, my treatments, my support, my medications. Yet again, that's not love. Also imagine, if you will, to use a common phrase in policing, going above and beyond the call of duty, only to have backs turned on you as you're cast into the ditch and left for dead. Interestingly enough, besides my organization's unceremoniously termination of myself, they quietly recognized those directly involved that went back into the fire with me, but not until 4 years later. I was neither invited nor informed that I received the organization's highest commendation until I accidentally found out 4 years after that, 8 years after the fire. I have to date refused to accept it unless it's done publicly with an apology. They have refused. I recently heard a lawyer make a comment, well, it wasn't that big of a fire. And he wasn't trapped that long. I feel that person needs to walk a mile in my shoes and the shoes of every military and first responder out there. As with anything, there's no question all careers have pros and cons. I'm sure many of you understand that, especially if your career path took you into the military or first responder profession. These are not easy careers, but ones that we love. There's that damn word again, love, L-O-V-E. Sadly, so many active military and retired military and first responders are unable or unwilling to talk about feelings, and especially about the four-letter word love. I and many others have PTSD. I'd like you to think about those letters a little differently, but I'd also like you to use them as I also refer to talking about love. PTSD, putting the stigma down. Saying you love someone or showing them you love them is not a sign of weakness. In fact, it's truly a sign of strength. So say it with pride. So all of this I share with you. Why? Because the period of time after being injured was a very, very lonely time for me, a very dark time, a time without love, both for others or even for myself. From loving life and living it to the fullest, to bunkered, not wanting to interact with people, depression, anxiety, panic attacks, and flashback nightmares, I was without hope. I was lost and lost all hope. I only saw one way out, and that was ending it all and taking my life. On March the 18th, 2016, a very special thing happened in my life. The first of some very amazing things that changed my life and truly saved my life. That's the day a little chocolate lab by the name of Maggie was presented to me upon completion of her training with two lovely veterans up in Halls Harbor, Nova Scotia. She was a year and a half old when we met. Was this going to be a good thing? I wasn't sure. It was more than a good thing, though. She allowed me to slowly start living life again. Maggie is trained to assist both me physically and PTSD my injuries, such as opening doors if I need her to, and also waking me up before I have a flashback nightmare. She allowed me to begin one more thing, and that was to love again. I've had dogs my entire life, but this little brown dog did more for me than I ever thought possible. Thanks to that special day in March, I have been able to play a key role through advocacy in both the new first responder presumptive legislation and the service dog legislation here in Nova Scotia. I even had the shock of being knighted in the fall of 2018. Further, I'm also proud to be a co-founder of the Canadian Intervention Assistance Dogs, which trains quality service dogs and gives them free of charge to veterans and first responders that are injured in the line of duty. From feeling that I could not and would not be able to make a difference ever again, to positively affecting the lives of not just others, but mine as well. I can't tell you just how much I love this little brown dog, but she didn't stop changing my life there. Thanks to her getting me out from inside the bunker in August of 2017, I met the absolute love of my life, my soulmate, Julie. I don't think there is a more understanding, patient, supportive, and loving person I've ever met in my life. I remember shortly after meeting, we had gone to a store, and I said, "I'll stay in the car." She asked, "Why?" I pointed at Maggie and said, "Well, she draws a lot of attention. You probably don't want to be seen with us." To my shock, she said, "It's not an issue for me. Is it an issue for you?" Well, we have never looked back, and I was blessed in March of 2019 when she said yes to marrying me, and even more honored to take her hand in marriage last August. I am beyond thankful in so many ways, but having her as a partner at my side and the brown fuzzy on the other side, there's nothing we can't do or accomplish one day at a time. So, what's love got to do with it? Like I said, everything. Love yourself, love life, love those around you, and always tell those people that you love them and give them a hug. hugs are healthy. And so is expressing our love to those we care about. Because life has no guarantees. And trust me, I firsthand can tell you that. Tomorrow may not come. I can tell you that one too. Both for yourself or for someone that you love. So Maggie, I love you, little brown dog. And Julie, I love you more than I can ever express and look forward to spending the rest of my very long life with you.